Are scholarships worth it? Counting on scholarships is like gambling with your child's future. So I'm going to explain why and show you a better way to pay for college and graduate debt-free. First, let's address the elephant in the room.
Where are you going with that elephant?
What elephant?
Pursuit of scholarships is often motivated by parents' desire to live vicariously through the achievements of their children, or for bragging rights with other parents. There are other reasons. For example, just saving the total amount necessary for college might seem onerous, and teaching our kids to work and save for college is hard work for the parents. Thank you for watching Game of Life 411. I'm very excited to be making today's video because really my main goal for this channel is to help others and to share things that have worked for us in our life in raising kids and finances and things like that. So I hope you'll subscribe and turn notifications on so that as I build out more content in this area, you'll see it as soon as it goes live. Here's the plan. Work and save, attend community college, attend a local in-state school, and optionally live at home. If you do these things starting at an early age, it's virtually guaranteed that any child can attend college and graduate debt-free. But if you choose to pursue the scholarship route, good luck. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against scholarships. I actually think they're great. I just think working and saving for college is a much better way to do it and a much better way to guarantee that every child can graduate debt-free. If you want to virtually guarantee that your kids or grandkids can graduate from college debt-free and get a great start in life, then you're going to want to watch till the end. Because I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of different approaches to funding college, whether it be scholarships, working and saving, etc. Then I'm going to walk you through our three kids and how they all graduated from college debt-free. And finally, I'm going to do a deep dive of the budgeting spreadsheet we used to plan for them to attend college and graduate debt-free. So scholarships are kind of a Hail Mary. And speaking of my friend Mary, she was a volleyball coach with one of the clubs here in Raleigh, and that's the sport I know the most about. So I had seen lots of other parents pursuing volleyball aggressively and doing travel teams and counting on scholarships for their children when they get into college. And so I talked to Mary and I said, hey Mary, what's the deal here? They were spending all this money traveling out of town, hotels, club memberships, coaching, extra events, tournaments, things like this. Is it really worth it? Is it going to pay off? Are they going to get scholarships that will offset the investment in time and pure money? She said no. Most of these kids will not get a scholarship worth more than the amount of money that their parents put into this process. So you would have been better off just saving that money for college anyway. By pursuing the dream of a scholarship, you actually set yourself back in terms of paying for college. But it is possible to get through college debt-free, as we've done with our three kids. But that's not to say that it's easy. In fact, it's pretty hard. I'm wearing this shirt today as a reminder that we should all do hard things. It's good for character, it helps teach valuable life lessons, and ultimately I think it turns our children into better adults. So just to give you some context on this shirt, this is for the Krispy Kreme Challenge, which Krispy Kreme is a local donut franchise. And what you do is you run 2.5 miles and you then eat a dozen Krispy Kreme glazed donuts. Then you run another 2.5 miles back to the start of the race. And if you do that all in less than 1 hour, then you've met the Krispy Kreme Challenge. We decided not to pursue scholarships for our kids and instead pursued the avenue of work. So we taught our kids to work from an early age, to earn, to save, to spend wisely, etc., and to plan for the future. And when it came to college planning, we encouraged them to make wise decisions, and then we offered to contribute up to 50% of the cost if they made wise decisions, which would include living at home and attending a local in-state college. So we didn't provide them with tons of money. We made sure that they had enough that with their work added to that, they would be able to get through successfully. And so far, so good. Knock on wood. Things seem to be working pretty well. Our eldest daughter is graduated magna cum laude. She was not accepted at her first choice college, which would have allowed her to live at home. So she did have to live away from home on campus. Yet she was able to graduate magna cum laude, debt-free, and with money in the bank. And now at 23 years old, she's married, and she and her husband are starting to look to buy their first new home. All three kids attended local community college for the first 2 years of their college career. And that allowed them to knock out a lot of courses very cost effectively. Our middle child is a senior in mechanical engineering, and due to working summer internships and a co-op while in college, he's been able to save quite a bit of money and will graduate not only debt-free, but with a tidy little sum in his bank account. Our youngest took a little detour. He first thought that college wasn't for him and wanted to explore the trades, so he spent a year as an electrician's apprentice. But after that time, he reevaluated his options and decided to go back to school to pursue a degree in mechanical engineering. So he is currently back at community college and living here at home, saving money and applying to the local university to transfer there next year. Basically, the choice we're talking about here is whether to invest your time and energy in pursuing some sort of a scholarship, whether that be academic or sports related, or if you should spend that time teaching your kids the value of money, how to work, and helping them get jobs and save for college. To help understand the differences, I've created this list with some pros and cons, and I'll go over those now. In terms of college choice, I think that working and saving gives you a lot more college choice, because if you are pursuing a scholarship, whether it be academic or sports related, then your hands are going to be tied based on which schools are willing to offer you a scholarship for your particular skill. And I've known countless individuals who pursued scholarships and were able to go to college and get some sort of assistance, but it did limit their college choice. And since you're pursuing this for a future career for the rest of your life, I would say that college choice is probably something you want left up to yourself and not driven by who will provide the most generous scholarship. What about work ethic? Well, I would say that work ethic is actually taught in both cases, right? So whether you're learning to work and save for college or whether you're pursuing a scholarship, typically that you are working for those things. Typically there is a lot of effort. It is very disciplined. And so I do think you're learning work ethic whether you're saving for college or pursuing some sort of a scholarship. What about life skills like managing money? Well, if you're learning to work and save and budget for a future college education, then you're learning some valuable skills. If all of your effort is going toward a scholarship, then you might not be learning the same life lessons. Which approach has the highest probability of paying for your college education? If you're working and saving, then it's a very high probability because it's really under your control. You can decide to attend a college that's affordable and you can work as much as necessary to save up money and be able to pay for that. But if you're putting all of your time and energy into pursuing a scholarship, it may not come to fruition. There are many reasons why. And so I would say the probability that you get a scholarship to pay for your education is mixed. It's limited. It's not as guaranteed as if you just worked and had money, right? Money will pay for college no matter where you want to go. A scholarship may or may not buy you an education. What about work-school balance? Well, if you are working and saving for college, then you have some control over that. You know, how many hours you want to work, how many hours you want to work when you're on break or before college, and how many hours do you want to perhaps work while you're in college. But if you're on a scholarship, especially an athletic scholarship, then really your life is not your own. You are committed to participating in that sport, in the training sessions and everything in order to keep your scholarship. And I don't know about you, but I would prefer to have more control over my destiny. I don't want my future hanging on the thread of whether or not I'm complying with all the requirements of my scholarship, right? I just want to have some money in the bank that I can write checks and pay for my education. What about burnout? So you might wonder, what do I mean burnout? Well, when it comes to working and saving for college, it's unlikely that the student is going to experience burnout, right? I mean, they're just doing stuff that they're going to be doing for the rest of their lives and not to an excessive extreme. But if you're pursuing a sports scholarship, very often the amount of effort that you're expending at that, and then when you get to college, if you do get a scholarship, the commitment to it can often take a lot of the joy out of whatever that sport is. And again, I've known countless individuals who went to college on some sort of athletic scholarship and got burned out on a sport that they loved, and that's a very sad thing. What about injuries, especially injuries that might affect you long term? Well, if you're working and saving for your college education, then it's unlikely you'll experience an injury as a result of that. But if you're pursuing an athletic scholarship, the way that they push these kids nowadays, it is possible that they can sustain injuries that might be with them for the rest of their lives. And you really need to think, is that the best thing for those kids? As I mentioned, when you have money to pay for college, then you have a lot of choice. You have financial freedom. It might still be tight, but at least you have choices. If you're putting all of your energies into the scholarship route, then you're really putting all of your eggs in one basket that's a little bit precarious. There are a lot of things that could go wrong and derail their future. For example, you might spend tons of time and energy, years in fact, pursuing a particular scholarship, whether that be academic or sports related, and then just find out your child's not good enough. It's really hard as a parent to appreciate that, and a lot of times the coaches are not very helpful, right? They might try to encourage you. Again, I'll speak of my friend Mary, who was the volleyball coach. they're encouraging those parents to keep their kids engaged because that's their livelihood, right? That's how the coaches make their money. That's how the clubs make their money. So it's important to realize that not every child is exceptional enough to earn a scholarship. So what else can go wrong if you pursue scholarships? A sports-related injury could jeopardize your child's ability to get a scholarship or to keep it. What happens if, after spending tons of time and energy, your child gets burned out on the sport or decides to quit? Where does that leave them? And what happens if your child decides not to go to college or drops out while they're in college? In all these cases, if you'd focused instead on teaching work ethic and saving for college, then the money that you would have been spending on college could still serve them in the next phase of their life, whether that be pursuing a trade, going to a trade school, buying their first house, etc. Our experience with our own 3 kids really proved the value of this approach. In case you're wondering whether this can work for any child, let me assure you, our 3 kids couldn't be more different. Yet this worked successfully for all 3 of them. Check this out. How can 2 boys raised in the same family wind up so different? That was one boy's bedroom, and here's the other boy's bedroom. College is not for everyone, and initially 2 of our 3 kids decided not to go to college. Our daughter, our eldest, took a gap year to try and figure out what she wanted to do with her life. Ultimately, she did decide to go to college and pursued a degree in graphic design, but it wasn't a given. So if she had decided not to go to school, then any effort and expense we'd put toward some sort of athletic or academic scholarship would have been wasted. As it was, though, if she had decided not to go to college, she still had that money to get started in life. She could have bought a house or gone to a trade school or gotten some other certification or gotten set up in her own business. Similarly, our youngest had a pretty bumpy road. When he started attending community college full time, he was really going through a very rebellious stage, and he was struggling and failing at a lot of his classes. So he came to us at some point and said, I don't think college is the right course for me, and he wanted to pursue the trades. So we talked about different options, and he actually decided to pursue the electrical trade and spent a year as an apprentice to an electrician. So again, cash is king, and it gives you a lot more flexibility than the pursuit of scholarships. So in summary, cash is where it's at. Teach your kids to work and save and graduate from college debt-free. Here's the plan. Work and save, attend community college, attend a local in-state school, and optionally live at home. If you do these things starting at an early age, it's virtually guaranteed that any child can attend college and graduate debt-free. But if you choose to pursue the scholarship route, good luck. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against scholarships. I actually think they're great. I just think working and saving for college is a much better way to do it and a much better way to guarantee that every child can graduate debt-free. Now we come to the tools section of the video, and I'm going to walk you through some spreadsheets that we used with all 3 of our kids. They evolved a little bit with each child, so I'm sharing the one from our youngest son because that's the most advanced. So the first thing to note is that we've got the spreadsheet broken down into multiple tabs. And the very first tab that we created, I think, was this one called the bucketizer, which is basically how our kids would go through and any money they received or earned would get allocated to different buckets for spend, save, invest, or donate. Then as the kids got a little bit older, we started focusing on specific goals. And the first goal is buy a car. We wanted our kids all to buy their own cars, so we started with this car fund. And then as they got past that goal and sort of in parallel with it, they started planning for college. So then we created this one for the college fund. And this is the one I'm going to go through in more detail. And then as they got toward the end of college or, maybe in parallel with the college fund, we started the apartment fund, which helps them see what it's going to take to live on their own out in the real world. It's not just about getting an apartment, but it does talk about getting an apartment and then living sort of a Dave Ramsey life where you're allocating money to spend, save, donate, etc., and you're not living in a lot of debt and basically out of control. You can also see a couple of other things we included. For example, we created these business cards for our kids. Okay, so let's dig into the college fund. So if you want to save for college, the first thing you need to do is understand the expenses, right? So we had already been saving for our kids for several years in a college fund, in a 529 account. And we had an idea for how much we wanted to provide, and we had a rough idea of what college costs. But when we put together this spreadsheet, we dug into actual costs. We looked on the internet to try and find out what actual tuition and expenses were at the universities that our kids were most likely to attend. Luckily, we have an excellent university here in town, so the kids could theoretically live at home while attending college. So looking at the top of this spreadsheet, you can see how we planned it out. So first off, we said, okay, Xavier's going to go to college for the school year 2023 to 24 and for the school year 2024 to 25. And the costs for that are approximately, for tuition and fees, $10,991 for that first year, and then $11,760 for the subsequent year. To come up with these numbers, we actually checked on the internet, and the university publishes numbers, what it approximately costs to attend the school. And then we factored in inflation. So this is sort of a base number, and then this is the inflated number for the second year, because we didn't want to be caught short. Now, room and board in our example, you'll see, is blank because we assumed that they would live at home. But these expense numbers are also available if you go to those schools' websites. Books and supplies, we estimated at $1,400 the first year, $1,500 the second year, and then other expenses were things like meals and gas and things like that. So we estimated those at $3,400 and $3,600 respectively. So then you can see how those numbers add up. And for 2 years of college, that comes to a total of $32,761. And Xavier already had $33,000 in his college fund, as you can see here. So you can see in the case of Xavier that the cost of attending college for 2 years is actually less than we had already saved for him in our college fund. So if he were to go to our local university and live at home, then he could probably go through cost-free. But of course, things don't always work out exactly as you planned. And our daughter, for example, attended college away. So that added some room and board expenses, which increased her overall cost. We had contributed a similar amount to her education, so therefore she had to cover the difference. So after you've done the estimating of the amounts, and this is based on a specific time frame, right? Because if college is 10 years off, then you need to add in inflation, and not just normal inflation, but inflation for higher education, which is considerably higher than normal inflation. And then you try and pick a date. So this is what we said. We said need by when? July of 2023. That's when, based on our knowledge at the time, our son would be attending college. And the number of months is the number of months between the time we put this spreadsheet together and when that date would occur. So you can see it was about 3.5 years before he was going to start attending college that we put together this spreadsheet. And then we said, okay, now you need to start saving toward this. So in our youngest case, this is a pretty ideal situation because we actually had enough funds to pay for his entire college. But let's talk about our daughter's situation. And what I can do is I'll just fudge these numbers a little bit so you can see how this spreadsheet works. So instead of saying it would cost $32,000 for 2 years of college, let's just change it to $36,000. Okay, and you can see then that it changes some other numbers down here, right? So the total college money earned is down here, so it's $33,121. And starting off this spreadsheet, you have just the number copied down here from the college fund. And this, by the way, is called a burn down chart because what you're doing is you're setting yourself a goal and then you're burning it down from top to bottom month by month. Okay, so if we look at the total amount that he needs, which is the difference between these two amounts, that equals $2,879. And we've already determined, based on when he wants to start college, he has 40 months from the time this spreadsheet was started. So we're going to decrement from 40 all the way down to 1 because this is a burn down chart, right? We're trying to burn down toward our goal. So we divide our goal into equal increments based on the number of increments we have. And you can see here, this is sort of the initial entry right here. And then what you see is we make entries, right? So the goal here is to take this number, 2879, which is what he needs to complete his college funding, and divide that by the number of increments, so by 40 increments. And that comes to something like $65. So he knows that he needs to earn and contribute toward his college fund $65 each month to hit his goal after 40 months. But reality is often not exactly as planned, right? So in our case here, he's actually earned $270 and contributed that toward his college fund. So he has exceeded significantly his goal of $65. Well, what does that do to our spreadsheet? It accelerates our burn down, right? So now instead of $28.79, he owes $26.08. And now instead of $65 per month, on average, he needs $64 per month for the remaining 39 months. The second month, he contributed $104 to his college fund. So it reduces the money still needed. And next month, you can see that he did not contribute to his college fund. So things can be uneven, but we can still accommodate that as long as the average contribution exceeds the initial $65 goal, right? As long as you do that, on average, you'll hit your goal. But if you do more, you'll hit your goal ahead of time, which of course is the goal. So that gives you more flexibility. So anyhow, this month he did not make any contribution. And so the following month average increases, right? So now he has to earn $65.90 per month for the remaining months, okay? But as you can see, these numbers continue to fluctuate until he's actually hit his goal. Now this spreadsheet was tweaked because his goal was actually less than this, but you can kind of see the idea. So I hope this spreadsheet made sense. I'm not saying that you should use this exact same spreadsheet for your situation, but something like this can be very helpful, and you certainly could use it to help plan your child's debt-free college future.
It's your world and I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut to move your butt.
Please subscribe now. You know you want to. And why not go nuts and set notifications on so you'll be notified every time I put out new content.